Witness the greatest heroes who ever lived. Irresistible danger, adventure, and friendship.
Then just let your feelings show and make it all for love.
The Three Musketeers.
In case anyone hasn't caught on yet, this entire podcast, the year plus that we have been doing this, has just been an audition for Justin to become the voiceover preview guy in the 90s. The one who was like everywhere.
I'm trying to go back in time, y'all.
In a world. Hello, everyone. And welcome back to Uncultured Universe. That's right. It's 2024. It's a new year, new us, new name, and new theme song, as I am just now finding out.
Yeah, you got
Killer.
that right.
Sounds incredible, Justin.
That shit slaps hard.
Shit hard. Slaps. I am so glad we are in just new mode.
I love new mode. Yeah. Newer is always better.
Newer is always better.
Yeah.
We are the podcast where two friends show each other movies, shows, and anything else that they need to see, hear, or experience in order to get a little more cultured. I'm your host, Joe, and I'm joined as always with the uncultured Justin.
What up?
Today it's time to fight for king and country, and if you happen to smooch a few wenches along the way, you're probably doing something right. It's the 1993 Three Musketeers.
King and country, emphasis on cunt.
Emphasis on the
this movie fucking serves. Everyone is like, the mustaches and the goatees are sharp. The fits are on fleek. Do kids still say that? I don't think so. But
yeah,
everything's great.
Everyone's kissing or wanting to kiss in this movie. So many kisses.
That was my one note about this movie. Everybody is so horny.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone wants to just fuck, and it is wild.
Yeah. My first note was if you're excited about Disney religious horniness in the 90s, wait until we cover Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh, was that worse?
Oh my God. Yeah. That's the pinnacle. But this is such a fantastic first step into that. And you could say the core of the horniness here comes from a particular actor that we have decided to center this miniseries around. So we entered 2024 and we decided to kind of give these episodes a little bit more structure. So we'll continue to have some wildcard miniseries where we just talk about whatever movies we want, but we are also going to have more focused miniseries around the people behind the scenes. So would you say we're going to be talking about actors that we like? We're going to be talking about directors. We're going to be talking about cinematographers, I believe. Is coming up.
Absolutely.
Ooh. So Justin and I will kind of hand off movies centering around these people, and we took a look at what this first January miniseries could be, and we landed on Tim Curry because we had so much fun with our episode on Muppets Treasure Island. And so we were like, okay, Tim Curry, boss, legend, literally.
Bad boy.
And Bad Boy, so fun to talk about. I was a little unsure, though, because the premise of our podcast is I have to pick a movie that I've seen that you haven't seen, right?
Yep.
And I hadn't actually seen Rocky Horror, so I couldn't do that. We should add that to the list.
Yep.
And I was almost certain that we had both seen Clue and Home Alone, too. Right.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, this idea came up, like you said, during the Muppet miniseries that we did back in last May, and you were talking about just your introduction to Tim Curry, and you mentioned that he's in this movie, and I was so just wait, first of all, there was a Three Musketeers movie that I wasn't super familiar with, and he's this effervescent, dripping in badness character, and I had no idea. So we just kind of just filed it away, and it just made sense to start with Tim Curry.
He's just such a horny demon in this movie. It's so perfect. I pulled it straight out of my childhood. This was a DVD on the shelf of Murphy DVDs as we were growing up. We were homeschooled. We didn't have cable. We didn't have like television channels, and so we just had this like massive collection of VHSs and DVDs, and this was kind of like in the rotation for
Of
us.
course, yeah.
And so an incredible thing I found when rewatching the Three Musketeers is I haven't seen it probably in about 15 years. I can recite this word for word.
Really?
I knew every line in every scene.
That's
I was
so
like
good.
saying it along with them. It was insane.
That's amazing. I love that kind of stuff. Like, you don't realize how formative these movies are when you're a kid, just when you watch them over and over. I mean, it makes sense. Like, your brain's a sponge when you're a young kid, but like being able to turn it on and just being able to say just like those quippy one-liners just off the cuff. It's so cool.
Well, it's like one of the first action movies I ever saw, one of the first romance movies I ever saw, one of the first comedy movies I ever saw.
Ooh.
Bit of a sexual awakening, if we're being honest.
With that handsome twink, Chris
Oh my
O'Donnell.
God, insane! How is this movie not rated NC-17?
There's so many like, but it's typical Disney. You know, there's so many just like weird jokes that just like I can't believe they got away with saying that. It's
There's
in the trailer. It's in the
There's so many
trailer.
there's so many heaving like body parts in this movie.
Yeah, there's over the shoulder shot of cleavage, and
Yeah.
in the trailer that I cut, like the official one, is the hilarious line that Sabine is saying to Richelieu, where she has like the knife. She's like, "In one twist of my knife, and I can change your religion." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that is a circumcision joke, and that is hilarious."
I never got that until right now. Like, well, not right now. When this latest rewatch, because I always thought she was just like, oh, threatening something crazy with his penis, whatever. Because like we didn't have great sex ed education, and so literally like last night I was like, oh my gosh, she's threatening to circumcise him because he's Catholic. That whole portion of the film is my favorite part, where we have this action comedy and then it just strays away into this like psychosexual romantic thing for like 15 minutes, and then we're back to the action comedy.
Yeah.
The Sabine character, the milady, iconic.
It's amazing.
Okay, so I want to talk about it. What were your first impressions? What did you know about this film going into it?
Okay, so like I said, like I wasn't really super familiar. When I think of the Three Musketeers, I think of it's still a Disney property, but it's like I think it's like Donald, or maybe it's Huey, Dewey, and Louie. There's ducks involved, and it's a cartoon jaunt. So and maybe in the deep recesses of my mind, this movie was on my radar because I think of this one and I think of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Oh,
and I
my
think they were about
God.
the same time frame, like 91, 92, 93, that kind of thing. So
I have that in my notes. Like those two movies are linked together for me.
absolutely, right? Like down to the soundtrack of like power hits with Bryan Adams, just doing
Like-
these bangers.
Like they're not even trying to get historical accuracy for the accents, and I don't want them to. And
Yeah.
so Kevin Costner, Kiefer Sutherland, they're all just American, and it's incredible.
Yeah, they're trying their hardest, and you can tell like when they're auditioning for it, and the people behind the producers, and they're like, "Can you do a French accent?" And they're like, "Straight up, no, but I can try." And they're like, "You know what? It's fine. No one's really gonna notice."
This will tank the movie.
Yeah. But it's not even a big. They're like, dude, like 2 years ago, did you see Kevin Costner in Robin Hood? He's supposed to be British. It fucking didn't even try. So hilarious. Everyone else surrounding him is in British accents. No one else. It's crazy. But yeah, so I kind of put those kind of movies in the same kind of playing field, kind of ballpark. But again, I never saw this. I never had a desire to see this movie, and I think we talked about this in the Treasure Island episode, that you were a pirate kid growing up, playing the dress up and doing more like sword fighting, that kind of thing. I wasn't like super into play sword fighting. I was more like sci-fi. I was more like lasers and laser guns and laser swords, fucking Star Wars and shit.
This is exactly what I was going to bring up. So like based on the movies we have covered so far, if we draw a line in the sand that is the present, I am definitely more on like, the term is like swashbuckling.
Yeah.
Yeah. that's what this type of movie is, where it's essentially like heroes with swords doing stuff, and then you're more like futuristic / monsters if we're talking about like formative 80s and 90s cinema, right?
Yeah, and that forms a really good just like compendium of like just typical kids that you would see on the playground, in
Yeah.
3rd or 4th grade. You got the kids playing pirate ship, and then you got the other kids running around going like pew 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 with their laser guns and like rocket
And then
boosters.
that's why Star Wars was such a hit, because it's the perfect like bringing together of the two. It's like, what if the laser was the sword?
Yeah, and it's amazing. So I can see why like you love Treasure Island, why you love Pirates of the Caribbean, all that kind of stuff. This is Joe encapsulated, and also too, of course, your parents were going to let you watch this movie because it is steeped in so much Catholic lore.
It's Catholic as fuck.
I know.
Yeah.
It's great. And they're talking about like chastity. There's like praying. There's crosses everywhere. And they're just like, yeah, it's totally fine. There's hints at sex, but they talk about it in like a bad way. Love that for the kids. Let them watch it.
The rule in my household growing up is that overall, like, violence is fine, language is okay, sex, no, we can't do that. And so you could watch like the most rated R bloody movie of all time and it'd be fine.
And I think also too, like you've mentioned before, like as long as it's kind of steeped in some sort of historical significance, like I know you've mentioned like the Patriot, and, and Braveheart, like
very historically accurate film.
Very right, very violent, very bloody, like a little bit of sex, but it's mostly like history retelling, epic kind of stuff. So like I get it.
My God, we're gonna watch Last of the Mohicans one of these episodes, and it's gonna be one for the history books. Okay, so let me give you some background here. So this the Three Musketeers is based off of a book written in the mid 1800s, I believe, by Alexander Dumas. So if that name sounds familiar, he is the same guy who wrote The Count of Monte Cristo, which is one of the books that we had to read in like 10th grade English in high school, and we all hated it, so we called him Alexander Dumbass. Of course, that's how his name is spelled.
Yep.
Which isn't fair, because he's obviously playing a pretty important part in history. The Count of Monte Cristo movie is also something that we watched growing up. Are you more familiar with that one, the Jim Caviezel one?
No, you mean our Lord and Savior Jim Caviezel? No, I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, that's a good one too, actually. But no, so the Three Musketeers is obviously like the big one that he has produced. I was reading up on it. I couldn't tell if it was maybe part of a series like about the D'Artagnan character.
Is D'Artagnan in the Count of Monte Cristo?
No, but there's this book that is called The Man in the Iron Mask. I should probably look if Dumas also wrote that. But that is essentially like the sequel to this story.
Really?
Yeah, so that is also a movie. I'm like glancing at this Wikipedia page as I'm doing this, because I don't know if he wrote it or if it was like more of like someone else took the story and followed up on it.
Yeah.
The Man in the Iron Mask is essentially like not related to this movie, like the Leo follow-up, but it has the same characters. So you have those core Three Musketeers, you have D'Artagnan, and then the Man in the Iron Mask is the twin of the current king, and they're both apparently like D'Artagnan's kids from when he had an affair with the queen.
Oh my God.
Like it's not supposed to be these same characters, so it's like not like he's having an affair with the queen in this movie.
Sure.
But yeah, so there's kind of a universe of the Three Musketeers, and the original book itself, this movie is pretty loosely based off of it. It focuses a lot more on the Milady character as a villain, I think, and there's less of like a love story and more of like a tragic ending. And D'Artagnan's kind of a little slut, I think, in it.
His sluttiness is hinted at and talked about. Yeah. The opening scene, with him having his standoff with Gerard. He's like, "Hey man,
so
I'm sorry I fucked your sister, but it's like no hard feelings,
Yeah. So Disney takes this movie in the early 90s, and from what I read, there were like 3 different companies trying to make a Three Musketeers movie at the exact same time, and Disney essentially won with this cast. Again, you could tell based on the cast that they're not necessarily going for historical accuracy. It's almost like this movie, literally like beat for beat, you can kind of see like them thinking, what's an action sequence that we can just like throw in here for no real reason.
Cannonballs.
When they get fired on by cannonballs, it's like, where are they and why are they getting fired on right now?
And like cannonballs are just like big balls of like there's no explosive in them. So like,
right,
what are these?
That's not how they work.
That's not how cannonballs work. That's wild.
Okay. So it's just a fun movie. It is a movie that kind of takes these characters, takes these themes, and sets them in this like entertaining 90s plot that's part action, part comedy, part swashbuckler, like we talked about, and part insane psychosexual romance.
Ooh, the tension is just it's everywhere.
But before we get into the plot and talk further, we do want to circle back to Tim Curry as the focus here. So I think Tim Curry does fit perfectly into this movie as kind of like the ultimate like sneering villain who also knows exactly the movie that he is in. He is fully British. He's supposed to be playing a French
clergyman,
religious clergyman who is so openly horny and evil. And yet he's ascended to this position of power in the French government, monarchy, whatever. And they have this like vague plot to like kill the king and take over the throne. Like the cardinal would become king at that point.
Like, is that how that works? I guess.
There's also like 30 people who live in France, and so they're all constantly running into each other all over the place. But Tim Curry plays this role with such like sneering comedy that you almost expect him to like wink at the camera every now and then. Like I want a version of this movie where he's like breaking the fourth wall and doing like a House of Cards and just like talking about all these idiots around him.
Oh my God. Yeah. A House of Cards take. Yeah, for sure. Not like, can you believe these jokers? But like, yeah, definitely the Kevin Spacey creepy type of character. I mean, not to lump them in the same camp. Kevin Spacey is a monster all of his own, but like that kind of take would have been fun. I can definitely see how like you need like a slimy kind of character like this to kind of play both sides, and you can kind of see the inklings. Like if they were going to remake that movie or whatever, it would be very Game of Thrones-esque because there's like that underlying political arm to it. There's the treasonous plot to like get with the other bad dude in the back pocket of the British government and all that kind of stuff. It's very Game of Thrones in that way. So he's kind of like that. I don't know. Who are some of like everyone was like a bad guy essentially in Game of Thrones.
The little like peace movers and stuff.
Oh, like Littlefinger,
and Varys and stuff. Yeah,
but yeah,
he's
like
working behind the scenes.
But then also too, he's just super horny. He's just like he's got it out. If this movie was not Disney and it was like a little more PG-13, you know, they would have shuffled somebody out of his quarters, you know, just like barely covering themselves, just show that this guy fucks. But you don't really need that because you can tell he fucks.
Yeah, I mean, and because it's Disney and because it's the 90s, he's kind of playing this live action version of what was their typical Disney villain at the time, which is kind of queer coded in a way. Like you can tell, like he's Jafar. Not this like he's playing like a Jafar role, kind of.
Yeah. And it works.
Where it's like, yeah, he's horny, but like we're supposed to kind of laugh at it in a way. And he's flamboyant essentially as this cardinal who walks around in this like little tight little armor piece that he's always wearing.
Oh, but it
looks incredible.
It looks great. And then he's got his cape. And there was one scene where he's like it's an overhead shot, and he's walking up towards the steps or the dais or something like that, and he looks like fucking Darth Vader,
Mm-hmm.
and it's awesome. So like that's the kind of like bait and switch kind of thing. He's like, oh, I'm helping out the king, but I'm actually vying for power for myself, and I'm this pious clergyman who's the right hand of the king kind of thing. But also I'm fucking everybody on the side because who cares? Because I have all this power. It's delightful to watch him in this role because he is so slimy, like effortlessly slimy, but also it's just cool to watch. You love
Mm-hmm.
a good bad guy like that.
Yeah.
And
He's
and also too, like, you don't see the body, He goes over the the boat and never pan down, no like alligator or anything like that.
yeah.
He's he's
One of my
covered.
questions is like, how does he die in this movie? Does he just drown? Do they watch him drown?
Frenchmen are known for their lack of ability to swim.
Totally.
They just can't do it. So like, sacre bleu, I can't swim. This is the worst. So like,
They
he
never made it
drowned.
onto the ocean.
He drowned
Um,
probably, but
okay, so if we are doing a mini series about Tim Curry, tell me again. I know we've probably covered this as part of the Muppets Treasure Island episode, but like, what's your history with Curry? Where is your first impression there? What place does he hold in terms of your culture?
so the first iteration that I set my eyes upon Tim Curry is the movie that we're going to be talking about next week, which is my pick, and we'll touch on that at the end. But as a young kid, I don't know who this actor is. That's just like later down the line, I was like, oh, that's Tim Curry, awesome. But my second uh, uh, touch point is Fern Gully, of course, as Hexus. Again, just like a oozy, literally oozy, kind of horny bad. Like that's who he plays. He's just like a kind of horny bad guy. And then also in the same time frame is Home Alone 2. So like the movie that I'm going to do next week or the week after, and then those two movies, like all kind of in the same time frame when I
Mm-hmm.
watched them. So those were kind of like my first things, and I had no idea really who it was, and it was just like that guy is creeping me out, but also he's hilarious, but also like it's captivating, all that kind of stuff. So
You can't take your eyes off him.
I know, and so like I can't wait for you to see the my pick because it's the same kind of character that he just like effortlessly plays.
Hmm.
Another one that comes to mind in like my teen years was Scary Movie 2. He's in that one, and he is hilarious.
Who does he play?
He's like so the plot of the movie is kind of like the House on Haunted Hill kind of thing, where he's like a professor running a test on like a haunted house or something, and he brings students in. He's the professor kind of character, but of course he's super horny, and he has nefarious plots. But it's Tim Curry, and you're just like, I fucking love it. It's delightful. We'll have to watch that one too as a follow up to this series because it's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely my first Curry touch point with Three Musketeers. And so it holds a special place in my heart, and that along with like Home Alone 2 were probably like the big Tim Curry moments in my life. And so they're both these like kind of nefarious villains, but they're also like the heart of the comedy of
Yeah.
each movie. Well, Home Alone 2, he's got kind of his own portion.
Mhm.
But he's pretty golden in that.
Yeah. Another one, I guess, would be like the It um, miniseries that came out in the early
Yeah.
90s. I knew of that. I never watched it because I was like, that's too scary. Like the killer clown. You got to keep that away
It's
from
like
me.
demented.
Yeah, but I didn't see that till much later in life.
Hmm.
But I knew that's who that was. Yeah, he's great. He's great.
Yeah, he kind of like establishes this persona as like someone who's not really afraid to put himself out there and be these like monstrous or very theatrical characters. Many of whom we label as iconic just right off the bat on
He's an
instinct,
icon.
you know.
He's an icon. Yeah.
Okay, let me give you some stats on the Three Musketeers, and then I may have you run through the plot, and then we
Okay,
can
yeah,
talk some more.
yeah, no big
Yeah.
deal.
Three Musketeers, directed by Stephen Herrick, who you may know from directing Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and The Mighty Ducks, among others.
Oh
Yeah,
my god.
you're in
Okay.
good hands here, bud.
Oh my god.
Um,
That's okay. So that's fitting because Mighty Ducks is is a Disney venture,
mhm.
and
Early Disney, yeah.
I think that came out first before this one. At least the first Mighty Ducks did. So they're
He
like, "Hey,
went
man,
from he went from one Estevez to the next.
he did. You're right." That's amazing. I like working with these
Um,
people.
Yeah, yeah, who wouldn't? Based on the book by Alexander Dumas, starring Charlie Sheen, Kiefer Sutherland, Oliver Platt, Chris O'Donnell, Tim Curry, Michael Wincott, and Rebecca De Mornay. What a
Mhm.
name. Released in November of 1993, just 2 months before your boy was released upon the world. Um, yeah, crazy. Made 111 million against a budget of just 30.
Oh,
It
wow.
didn't get like glowing reviews because nothing did, but I think it was a popular hit.
I think so, and it makes sense. It plays very Disney. It plays akin to Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Um, Action, whimsy, wisecracks. It felt kind of like it could be they could have made like a ride or a land out
Hmm.
of this movie, which would have been cool if that was a
Yeah.
thing that you would want like you know in the late 1700s France or whatever as a land in Disney World. But
Come visit pre-revolution era with us, and at the end
yeah,
of the day, we guillotine someone.
yeah, and all the children laugh and they think it's hilarious.
um, yeah, thank you for mentioning Pirates of the Caribbean. That's definitely the connection I had in my notes is like the next era of the swashbuckler film. We had a bit of a golden era in like 2003 to 2007 with that original Pirates trilogy,
Mhm.
and I've kind of just been waiting my entire life since then for those types of movies to come back,
Yeah.
because I miss them and they're the only source of joy I've ever had.
I bet, that's really upsetting, but, I bet we're due for one, honestly, in the next couple
Yeah.
years. I wouldn't doubt it. Um, like Game of Thrones had its turn for X amount of years. So, like, people are kinda taking a turn towards more of that medieval kinda stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if, like, sword fighting pirate movies came back.
Yeah, what's the next like quasi comedic, historically based epic film series that we can expect? Maybe westerns will come back around, but that's not really the same thing.
Ooh, yeah, I would love to see westerns come back for sure.
Mhm.
But yeah, as a side tangent, I don't know, like what else? There's so much to explore with like just pirates in general. The whole Captain Blackbeard and all that kind of stuff. There's so much to explore there
Mm.
outside of the Pirates of the Caribbean verse. Um, I don't know.
Pirates of the Pacific.
Pirates of the
Yeah,
Pacific. Let's
yeah.
go to Hawaii.
Let's go to Hawaii, man. Yeah, maybe Vikings will make a or continue to make a comeback in film. I'd watch it.
Yeah.
Um, all right, Justin. Let's go ahead and do a plot description for the Three Musketeers, which
Yeah.
has been adapted on film and stage and television dozens of times. Let's see how you do. Hang on, and I will pull up my little timer.
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay. Tell me about the Three Musketeers in 1 minute. Your time starts now.
Three Musketeers centers around the Three Musketeers plus one, which is D'Artagnan. He's a little fuck boy. He wants to join this group of cops in Paris, France, and he's just like a little bit late because there's a coup going on with Cardinal Richelieu, who's played by our lovely Tim Curry. Fuck. He's trying to undermine and kill the king, this young boy, by partnering with the other bad guys in London. So like they meet up and they're like, "Hey, we're the Three Musketeers," and he's like, "Can I join?" And they're like, "Fine." And then they go and they fight, and then there's all this stuff uncovered. Kiefer Sutherland, was a count, and he, fucked over his wife, but she's still alive. And then she throws herself off a cliff, and then they stop the plot And then Charlie Sheen gets shot, but like by the grace of God, he lives somehow, and he joins the Musketeers at the end because they bring the Musketeers back, and everybody's fine, and Gerard sucks. The end.
Yeah, I think you covered it. To this day, I still think like the most romantic thing you can do is profess your love for someone and then jump off a cliff. What do you think?
That I did not expect that to happen. Because Kiefer is very just at the turn. He's just like, wait, no, never mind. I changed my mind. Do you forgive me? I'm so sorry. And she's like, yeah, I forgive you. Yeet, and she jumps off the fucking cliff. And they're just like, oh well. Anyway, we got to go save the king.
He's like, oh, nuts.
That is not what, man. Like, don't jump. It was.
Oh no!
Don't do it. Yeah, it was kind of anticlimactic. That whole bit, like, kind of where the plot and the momentum kind of takes a hard emergency break, where they catch the boat before it leaves. She's captured by somebody. I don't know who captures her and who holds her in captivity.
Yeah.
But then he goes and he like talks to her. And he's like, hey, man, I fucked up. And she's like, hey, I did too. And I can't believe you didn't never notice this fleur-de-lis on my shoulder.
Yeah.
What a weird spot to have a brand that you're a treasonous monster. But
yeah. So it's implied that she has just kind of like had a hard life. She's had to kill a few guys just to survive. She marries him when they're both young and they're actually in love. They love each other, but she's been branded as a murderer. He somehow doesn't find that out until one day when they're writing. She uses makeup or something.
Yeah, something.
And so he leaves her because of honor. And then goes and like dishonors his whole life or whatever and joins the Musketeers, abandons everything. They come back together. She becomes a spy out of necessity again. The movie takes a more it's more on her side, I would say, in a way than the book is. In the book, she's more of this like sneering villain, sexual temptress person. And in the movie, it's more she's just been like jaded by the whole world. And so that's why she's kind of like fucking off at the end.
Yeah, it's kind of James Bondy in that regard. It's kind of what is it? The first one or the first one with Daniel Craig, Casino Royale.
Yeah,
with what's her face?
Yeah,
Eva Longoria. No, that's not it. Eva Mendes.
Eva Green.
There's
a lot of Evas out there.
A lot of Evas. That same kind of thing where she's like, I have a past, but I'm good now. And then it's like, nope, I'm bad again.
Just don't fall in love with me.
Yeah. Don't you do it. Don't you do it, James Bond.
But the guy who captures her in like the little inn that they are, it explains it in like half a second.
I missed it.
Horrible. But like he is the brother of the guy she like originally killed, or like whoever like Lord de Winter is, or whoever like her latest husband is.
Okay, all right. And is that what got her the fleur-de-lis, or was that like way in the past?
No, I think like the fleur-de-lis was like way in the past, and then she's just like killed more people since then.
She's got a long list.
Girls gotta work.
Hey, we talked about girls in STEM, you know. Stab them entrails, mama. So I kind of wish that was a little bit more clear, but like I said, the momentum and the plot kind of just gets shifted for a second, and then she leaps off the cliff and they're like, oh yeah, we got to go like save the king. What are we doing? Let's go.
I'll hear nothing. I will hear no negative comments about it. I love it so much. Her and Kiefer Sutherland are so hot together. I want like the prequel miniseries of them and their life leading up to like him betraying her and leaving her and like turning her over to the police essentially.
What a fucking narc, you know? Yeah. Like no honor among those kinds of guys. But yeah, dude, you mentioned like in the book she's kind of a seductive temptress. Like she is exactly that in the bedroom scene with Chris O'Donnell.
After they find him unconscious on the side of the road, he's trying to intercept her as a spy. He doesn't know who she is at first. She doesn't know who he is. And then it takes them like 30 seconds to unravel that. And so you can see the turn in her eyes between like, oh, I'm going to fuck this little guy, between that and like, oh, now I have to kill him with my little hairpin.
Yeah.
It's all very sexy. It's very fun.
Yeah,
Um,
that was a fun scene of just like, oh my god, this is for kids. This is gonna turn some people.
but I want to back up to because I love the way that like action sequences are incorporated into this movie and the way that they're used sometimes just like for whatever, but then sometimes to drive the plot and like move characters together.
Mm.
And so the prime example of that, and I think this happens in the book as well, is like D'Artagnan arrives in Paris. He's this like cocky little prick who thinks he can take on the world. He's trying to join the Musketeers, and he ends up with 3 different duels in the same day
Love
with the titular Three Musketeers. It's such a fun, creative, stupid way to meet them, but it's so funny how like he literally runs into and has a conflict with 3 of them just like on the street on separate occasions, and then schedules duels with them later that day on 3 separate occasions.
Yeah,
And then they all show up together.
it, that that's like delightful storytelling to
Mhm.
like get your outsider character to meet the titular characters to come all together to
Yeah.
have the comedic point of like, well, you can't duel him. I'm dueling him. Not until 1 p.m.
You cannot fight this boy. I'm
Yeah.
fighting.
Yeah. I thought that was really fun. Very silly, very classic Disney comedy.
Mhm.
Um family friendly, and then the murdering just starts happening.
So they kill so many people
So
in
many
this movie.
people.
Just like poke them with a sword and they're dead. And then they get to the ship that the Milady girl is on, and like they've ambushed them by killing the entire crew.
It's just dead bodies just strewn about.
Like you want to see like the behind the scenes of that, where it's just like, did are some of these people innocent? And it's just like you're just like stabbing them. Like we have to prepare this funny little trap for them.
Yeah, there's got to be plenty of just like, no, please don't hurt me. It's just hilarious.
I don't know these people.
But they're gonna do that. They're gonna show that behind the scenes, that cut scene, but they're gonna have the jaunty Disney music in the background, keeping it light, baby. Just keeping it light.
All right. Well, let's talk about the Three Musketeers. So you have Kiefer Sutherland,
The
He's-
leader.
He's the leader.
He's the Leonardo. Yeah.
He's the blossom of the group. You have Oliver Platt, who's Porthos
Donatello.
is always kind of like the funny, boisterous one, the woman killer.
Yeah, and he's got
these, like gadgets.
very cool.
And then you have Aramis, who's like
The pious one. Yeah.
the pious one who can't stop like fucking people because he's
But-
like they're all so horny, but he's trying to be a priest. I love his introduction where it's just like, again, fully American Charlie Sheen, who's like tutoring this man's wife or something like that.
Yeah, reading from the Bible and like about to get it on, and he's
They're
just
both getting horny from the Bible, talking about like original sin.
it's so uncomfortable to watch, but it is, and it's just played for laughs. And gunshots firing, and he leaps out the window triumphantly, and he's got a pithy one-liner about God's often busy, no big deal.
It's so great. I
It's-
love it so much. It really is a precursor to Pirates of the Caribbean in that way, in terms of like it's exactly what you're saying. It's the one-liner as like guns are blazing, everyone's running around, everyone's wearing these boots, these stupid boots.
Yeah.
Swords are flashing.
Nobody's ever in real danger.
Mhm.
Because of the music is so light. It's so just uplifting and just like, I'm not worried for anybody's life. And
Yeah.
that's why, like, at the end when Charlie Sheen gets shot point blank.
Did you think he was going to die?
No, I was like, he's wearing like surprise armor or something like that. I was like, there was no like Chekhov's gun or like throwaway line of just like, hey, look at this piece of metal I found, anything like that. But there was the cross, and he's just like, hey man, I guess God is real. Anyway,
Then they all laugh and do like a triple high five.
yeah, a lot of triple high fives, a lot of crossing of the swords, good stuff like that.
Yeah. Rounding off this cast, you have the king and queen, who are like the dumbest little lovebirds you've ever met. Incredible wig work on the king.
So good. His hair is dynamite. His bangs are banging.
His bangs are banging. At the end, when he he's finally the one who like punches Richelieu over the boat, my note was like, wait, is the king kind of hot this whole time? We'll leave that as a question mark for the sequel. And then D'Artagnan, like continuing his one crazy day that he has the first time he gets to Paris and ends up almost being executed. He saves the queen and her he saves these like queen's handmaidens from what he thinks are bandits, but they're actually their bodyguards. Him and the handmaiden Constance have like a 30-second conversation, and then she is like down bad for the rest of the film. Like she is like fully in love. They know nothing about each other. And then they kiss at the end.
She's talking.
They don't have another conversation the entire film.
But yeah, it's that 30 seconds. She's just like, I can feel my heartbeat. Like it is on, baby. And she's talking to the queen, and she's just like, so tell me about the first time you saw Louis. Yeah. Did you feel like this? I love it. She's just
so sexual.
It's so sexy. This movie's so sexy, Joe.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for it. I was not prepared for the sexiness.
Yeah. So, and then to round it off with an end credit song that is maybe the greatest movie song of all time. This is where I sent you the text that I was like, we're going to be talking about the song more than anything else. Did you know about the song going into this?
I've heard it before, like maybe once or twice, like growing up, listening to B98.5 FM, which was, a popular adult contemporary radio station that my mom loved. And it was all of that. It was all Rod Stewart. It was all Sting. It was all Bryan Adams, in their separate worlds. So when they come together for this super magnificent, epic opus, it just makes sense because it fucking rips. That song is so good.
Yeah, you have the Bryan Adams song in Robin Hood, which was like a couple years earlier than this. And so they were like, how can we possibly top this while still kind of maintaining that vibe? Like, obviously, Rod Stewart and Sting.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we get Bryan Adams back. He's riding high. He's still doing his thing. It's like, well, this movie is called The Three Musketeers. Let's get two other heavy hitters in, and then this guy.
They finally got them all on set. Everyone's kind of sounding great. They're really vibing. They're bros. And the director's like, something's not right. And then he goes up and he unbuttons one more button on each of their shirts. And everyone's like, perfect. Everyone sees Jesus. It's perfect.
Go home. Yep. That music video is wild. The trailer that I cut at the beginning, I used the original trailer of the movie and then that music video and brought them together. With, of course, my voiceover. But that music video is wild. The first like 30 seconds or first minute or whatever is just like B-roll of them coming on set.
Yeah.
And
they're like holding coffees and stuff.
Yeah, they're all just chilling and they're all just playing piano. Or Bryan Adams is playing piano, Sting is there, and they're like, where the fuck is Rod Stewart? He's 30 minutes late. And then he just kind of fucking strolls in with like this fur coat, and he's just immediately just cutting up. He calls Sting String. It's hilarious. And then they just get the song ripping, and you're like, okay, this is fine and good. It's all adult contemporary, that kind of stuff. And then that chorus hits, and where they're all three singing, and Sting holds out that one note, and they're all kind of just continually building on top of each other. It's so good.
I didn't know what what is the musical term for like singing on top of each other? Harmonizing. Jesus. I didn't know like what harmonizing could be for the human soul until I heard this song.
Yeah.
And a note about the music video. So if you grow up with a bunch of DVDs, what comes with that is like special features culture. And so in the special features for the Three Musketeers, there's actually another music video of this same song. And it's the three of them, but they're not like in the studio. They are kicking back in the tavern that they're in. Like,
I love those.
With the wenches. But they're like wearing regular like clothes and stuff, but like Rod Stewart is like essentially the Porthos, and they're just like hanging out and they're like drinking flagons and stuff.
Just
That's what my memory of the music video is.
surrounded by babes,
Just
but
total
still
babes.
but wearing just their normal attire. They're like, all right, guys, check it out. We're gonna put you in the scene of the movie, and we have these period accurate clothes for you. And Rod Stewart's like, yeah, I'm not gonna wear that, mate. Fuck that. Wait, that's Australian. He's like, nah, fuck that. I'm just gonna wear my regular shirt and my my leather pants. Like, fuck off. That's amazing. Yeah, another thing with DVD culture is you get the main menu screen that would usually have the theme song 20 seconds just looping forever, or something. There's a whole subculture about that too.
Every so often the tweet will go around where it's like every millennial or whatever age range knows the sound of the Shrek 2 menu screen, because that's the one where they're all in like essentially talking heads and they're all trading off, like talking about each other. For some reason that is ingrained in everyone's mind.
Love it.
Let me kind of cover my notes here. Obviously, Curry, accents, never heard of them.
Yeah, what's a French accent even sound like?
Is this the worst or best cast movie of all time? Let's talk about it. I think for what this movie is and for what it's trying to be, which is just like an entertaining jaunt in the 90s, I think they got the best cast that they could. And it's literally...
Yeah, like, I think it's really, really good. The three core Musketeers, Charlie Sheen, Kiefer Sutherland, and Oliver Platt, are great together. I think they have really, really good chemistry. The first one of the first scenes, I think, when they're when they face off with Roquefort or whoever, or Rick or whatever, he comes into the cabin.
Kind of a cheese.
Yeah, that scene. Like Kiefer and Charlie Sheen are just kind of kicking back, and then Porthos comes down off the ceiling and stuff like that. Like, it's so cool. Like, you can tell they got history together.
You can tell that they're like friends. They're best friends, and especially like Porthos and Aramis are like two buds, because like Athos has like the main character syndrome, and so he's kind of separate, but then Porthos and Aramis have like the little secret sword handshake, and they care about each other.
Dude, they've seen each other's dicks and probably touched each other's dicks in the scene with the winches, and they're kind of like talking about like how to like seduce a woman. You can tell that they have like Eiffel Towered a couple people.
You know what it is? It's Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli from like the later Lord of the Rings movies, where Aragorn is like trying to be the more serious one, and he's got a girlfriend back home, and then Legolas and Gimli are like just slowly but surely becoming best friends, but also in competition with each other. But they would do anything for each other.
Yeah,
incredible. I love that archetype.
Oh my god, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, just turn up the sexuality just a little bit between the two. Yeah, it's definitely
again unbutton a few more buttons here.
Yeah, just flash a nip. It's not even that on your butt. Yeah, let me get that hard for you. It's no big deal.
Yeah, and if we're talking about the cast, like we have to talk about what is his name, Michael Wincott, who plays Rochefort, for like greatest villain voice in the 90s. I would say he's also in Count of Monte Cristo. He's playing like this terrifying like prison warden guy, and the latest thing I actually saw him in was Jordan Peele's Nope last year. Did you see that?
I didn't catch Nope. No.
Yeah,
I need to.
He's in it. He's playing kind of a funnier character, but he still has that like terrifying gravelly voice that is just like perfect.
Yeah, he's a great villain in this. Classic, one-eyed kind of piratey guy. In practice, he should be a terrible sword fighter because of his depth perception is completely fucked. Having one eye, he should be just missing the whole time. But
I want like the Mel Brooks version of this movie where he is just like missing. He's like the Blinken character from
he's like, stand still, come closer. Damn it, I can't do this. I'm handicapped.
Yeah, I think they really nail it. They nail the tone of this movie with the cast, and like I said, there is again, not a sequel to this movie, but a follow up to this story in The Man in the Iron Mask, but with different actors, different characters. The versions of Athos, Porthos, and Aramis in that movie, Athos is played by John Malkovich, I want to say.
John Malkovich?
John Malkovich, which
Sean.
Jean, doesn't really fit the vibe I have in my head of him. Porthos is Gerard Depardieu, so he's like this big French burly guy. Kind of fits. And then Aramis is Jeremy Irons, who is like the voice of Scar. Yeah. He's pretty good.
That's great.
And then D'Artagnan is Gabriel Byrne, who's did you ever watch like In Treatment or whatever?
No.
You saw Hereditary?
Mm-hmm.
The dad in Hereditary who catches fire?
Yeah.
It's him.
That's D'Artagnan. Cool.
D'Artagnan, and then it's obviously Leonardo is kind of the face of that movie.
So is D'Artagnan the last name, or is that like his first name?
I think it's his first name.
Okay.
But first off, everyone in the Three Musketeers seems to know his father. He'll pass some random on the street. He can't throw a rock without hitting someone who knows his father.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if it's almost a family name, because when he meets the girl for the first time, she kind of like surmises where he's from based off of that.
And also she's like, I can tell by your accent. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're from Southern France, aren't you?
Also, let's
D'Artagnan.
get married today.
Right now. I've got it bad.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And then we gotta talk about the pinnacle, the leading man of the hour, just Tim Curry.
Yeah.
Brings it all together.
I really think for a movie like this to even somewhat work, you need this in the villain, because he has so much screen time as like the sneering villain. He's kind of doing this like courtly intrigue. You're not going to get a lot of interesting moments from the king and queen just because they're these like, again, these like shy little lovebirds who are kind of boring. And so you need these moments of like evil, but also like levity from him to hold up that part of the story a little bit. Also, one of my notes is like, is his plot in this movie to prevent a war? Like, are we sure that he is
he really the bad
guy?
Yeah. Is he the bad guy, or is he just like, hey, I am looking out for number one, but also too like, hey, we're gonna like have this strategic thing with England. So it's like
he's trying to sign a treaty with the Duke of Buckingham to not have a war.
So like maybe, how bad is that?
Maybe sentiment was different in the 90s, and like we really just wanted to see England and France go at it.
That, and also too like the boys in blue, they're literally cops. So like cop culture has shifted immensely. So they're like, they were the cops back then, France protecting the king, and they're like, no, like you can't kill this guy for the betterment of the country.
Jonathan was watching like the first half of this with me, and he was like, oh, it's blue versus red, like this is communism. And I was like, wait, what?
Yes, this is anti-communist propaganda. It's definitely red versus blue, and that's a good transition to this cocktail.
Ooh, yeah, tell me about it.
So, of course, with this being the Tim Curry centered month, I wanted to do something based on the character. So this is the Richelieu Martini. It's a little red, little ditty I got here: vodka, Campari, sweet vermouth, bitters, and pineapple juice, which makes it nice and frothy on the top. And then I've got count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 blueberries and 1 cherry. So it's the 3 plus 1 Musketeers, and then the 1 red Richelieu.
Aww.
It's great, and it's delightful.
That's kind of sweet. That totally doesn't look like anal beads. Let me show you what I have. So I was thinking through like what are my standout moments of this movie. I really did just land on that cliff scene. I love it so much. It's such soapy drama.
It is.
And so what I have here is a vodka, orange juice, cranberry juice, sour apple schnapps with a Luxardo cherry garnish, and I'm calling it Sex on a Cliff. Because you would typically have peach schnapps for Sex on the Beach, and so I'm giving it more of a green tinge.
Yeah.
And it tastes incredible.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, it's very fruit forward.
Yeah.
And yeah, it'll make you want to just leap off the cliff after, cleansing your soul. Oh my God.
Oh, I love it so much.
Yeah. I would pay to see a prequel of Athos and Sabine. Just
Give me
what they're doing.
Give me a prequel of Athos and Sabine, and then a sequel of Cardinal Richelieu surviving and like crawling his way back to the throne and getting revenge on everyone. And we'll call it a day.
It's okay. Ryan and I mentioned this, so it's like you don't see any bodies of Sabine, obviously, because it's a kids movie or a Disney movie, PG movie. You don't see the bodies of Sabine. You don't see the bodies of Richelieu. They both somehow wash ashore together, but also go back in time, maybe.
Totally.
And that's how you get Treasure Island, Muppet Treasure Island.
Oh my God! Does she like become Piggy?
Piggy, yeah.
Benjamina,
yeah. Somehow through the void that they sit through in the French Sea, whatever ocean that is. Amazing.
The Curry cinematic universe. Yes. Okay, this is how it starts.
But yeah, I would love both of those movies. That'd be great.
All right, Justin. Final thoughts on this movie and Tim Curry in this movie before I get us into the dumbest game I have ever thought of.
I'm so excited. This movie was fun. Very Disney, very Pirates of the Caribbean. This movie is so incredibly horny. And very pious, very just unabashed, just like Catholic.
Yeah, I love it.
And just slamming it to you. And then just like Tim Curry just brings it all around with just added horniness, added jokes, added just creepy, nefarious, slimy vibes. It's great. He is. I didn't know too much about this movie, obviously, and reading like the billing, he's billed last, I think, or next to last, or something like that. And I was like, oh, is he in this movie like hardly at all, or like what role does he play in this? And I was like, oh, of course, he's the center figurehead of all the machinations and evil that's going on. Very fitting. So yeah, this is great.
The billing on this, just like as an aside, I'm always fascinated with billing on like posters and stuff, is kind of insane because you get Charlie Sheen first. And so you're thinking like, okay, maybe they're doing like an alphabetized sort of thing, which I don't know if they are, because you go Charlie Sheen, Kiefer Sutherland, Chris O'Donnell, Oliver Platt. And so that's like the four of the Musketeers. And so maybe Charlie Sheen was just like hot stuff at the time. And so you get like agents who demand like, I need to be, my guy needs to be number one. Chris O'Donnell gets moved above Oliver Platt. You can kind of see how Oliver Platt has like the funny guy role in this. And so he's not like as high up as the ingenue Chris O'Donnell or the essentially other lead of Kiefer Sutherland. Tim Curry comes next after that. So he's kind of the last of the guys, but then I think you get an Rebecca De Mornay.
Right.
Which you can see as like, she's the only girl on the poster, and like De Mornay, you got to end with that name.
Yeah. Solid.
But again, like I think she first popped off in like Risky Business, I think, which I have never seen, but like maybe she was still big in the early 90s.
Yeah, that was mid 80s. So maybe not. Maybe bringing her back. This was her way back in to the limelight, baby.
I love billing. We could do a whole podcast about billing for different movies.
We can talk about
it. Fun.
We should definitely look at that moving forward.
Yeah. Have a little billing corner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you ready for, again, like such a stupid game?
I'm excited.
Okay.
Let's get into it.
Misleading movie titles.
Yep.
Thank you for that. That is perfectly fitting.
I know.
here's my spiel. So growing up, whenever I saw the poster for the Three Musketeers, the first thing I always thought was, well, there's clearly four of them. It should be called the Four Musketeers. That's a better title.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense that it's the Three Musketeers. In that spirit, I'd like to play a game I'm calling Misleading Movie Titles. I'm going to give you 10 movies that we have covered on this podcast. So I'll go easy on you here. But I've updated the titles to still somewhat refer to the plot of the movie, but not really in the best way.
Okay. I love it. That's great.
So you then have to tell me the movie that I'm naming.
Okay.
Easy
Done.
enough.
Yeah, easy enough.
Are you ready to play Misleading Movie Titles?
Should we play it again?
Do it.
Misleading movie titles.
The visuals are what do it for me.
The visuals are like,
People just
What?
so upset.
all right. Fantastic. Okay, number 1. Misleading movie titles. Adventures in Diners.
Oh, that's Pulp Fiction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You got it. Number 2. Girl, you better get that book.
Is that Devil Wears Prada?
It's Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah. Speaking of, you know what? Ryan's reading that book right now.
The Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah, she says it's great.
Fantastic. We're going to need a little Ryan corner coming up next to give her a review of The Devil Wears Prada.
Oh, done. Yeah.
Okay, number 3. Violent Revolution of the Masses.
I know we haven't watched V for Vendetta. Violent Revolution of the Masses. Is that Chicken Run? No, it's Bug's Life.
It's Bug's Life.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 4. Elevator.
It's just Elevator. Elevator. It's Parent Trap.
No.
Ah, God damn it. Then it would be I don't know. Elevator.
Okay, I can
Hardly
give you
know
a hint. It would be like kind of slanted, very like actiony font. Maybe
Oh,
like a
Speed.
gunshot through it. Yeah.
Speed, yeah.
Speed.
That did it.
Yeah.
That did it. Elevator.
Elevator. Number 5. Silicon Valley.
Oh, that's Social Network.
That's Social Network. I got you. Number 6. The Most Evil Lady of Christmas.
Let's see. It's not Gremlins. It's The Family Stone.
No, it is Gremlins, actually. I'm referring to the
Oh.
lady who wants to like kill his dog or whatever.
Oh God, what was her name?
I wasn't
Yeah.
even thinking of the Family Stone, but that obviously makes just as much sense.
Yeah.
So you get that one.
Thank you.
Number 6? 7. Number 7. Doctors Without Borders.
Doctors Without Borders.
You're looking at a list of our podcast episodes?
Yeah, I have it. I just happen to have
You
it up.
fucking cheater.
Is that Young Frankenstein? Yes.
It is Young Frankenstein. Yeah,
Damn right.
you got it. Number 8. The Surfing Lesson.
That is Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
That's Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
It's this one scene. I love it. But okay,
Number
so
9.
You're right.
Number 9. How to Build a Theater.
Moulin Rouge.
Moulin Rouge. You got it.
Or is it How
All right.
Not to Build a Theater?
How to Put on a Production. All right, last one. Number 10. An Actress and a Mother.
An actress and a mother. Black Swan? No.
No.
Who's an actress? Let's see. Not Megan. This is unfair because I do have the list. You're right. An actress and a mother. I'm your mother. When Harry Met
I am
Sally.
your mother.
No. Moonstruck. Moonstruck?
No.
Tu Wong Fu. No. Actress and a mother.
I think you got this one wrong.
Oh, Parent Trap.
No.
Oh, what is it?
It's The Exorcist.
Oh no, I missed. Okay, yeah, I missed that one.
Okay, Justin, thank you for playing misleading movie titles. You got an 80%, which is a passing grade. And we'll play again someday.
Yay!
Misleading movie titles.
So good.
I was gonna say keep that video file on standby because we should really bring this back.
We really should. I mean, it makes sense. I Googled, misleading movie titles, and it's just so many pages of results. It's crazy.
Fantastic.
That's great.
All right. Why don't you tell us a little bit about in this Tim Curry miniseries where we will be going next episode?
Where we're going to take a hard right into, or maybe it's even a hard left, I would say, into like high fantasy of legend. Talking legend, folks, with Tom Cruise leading the charge, and then Tim Curry also. It is a wild ride. That was my first time seeing a movie where it had like this crazy character in it. That I learned later on was Tim Curry, and I was just like, oh, of course, based on the other characters that I'd seen him play. You're just like, oh, that totally fits the bill for who he is in this movie. And that one's going to be fun to talk about because I haven't seen it in, several years. So it'll be fun to revisit. But yeah, that was one of the first ones I remember seeing, and it is it's great. It's great. I can't wait to talk about fantasy.
I am very excited. I had never heard of it before this podcast. I know of the production still of just Tim Curry as the devil or whatever he is in that movie.
Yeah.
So I know what he looks like, but I don't know anything else about it. I think this will be our first Tom Cruise movie. Fact check me on that one.
It is the first time. Yeah.
We'll have a little cruise talk. Very fun. Okay. Justin, thank you for giving me the opportunity to rewatch the Three Musketeers after all this time. I had such a blast doing this. I'm putting it back in rotation. It's in there.
It's a good one. It's a good family-friendly flick. Bring the whole church camp to see it. It's a good time.
Yeah.
This movie has Joe written all over it. So
yeah,
it plays out. Yeah, this was fun. So yeah, check us out wherever you get your podcasts, and check us out on YouTube. We have changed our name. We are now Uncultured Universe. We're not limiting ourselves to just the cinematics of it all. As Joe mentioned at the top, we're going to be talking actors, directors, cinematographers, and movies. We're going to be talking TV shows. We're going to be talking music. We're going to be talking soundtracks. We're going to be talking musicals, maybe books, maybe video games, maybe
video games.
Maybe we talk card games. Maybe we talk handshakes. Who knows? Anything.
Maybe we talk about paintings.
Just art in general. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. But yeah, all things where we can get each other just a little bit more cultured. Joe, I like that. Get a little more cultured. That's our tagline from here on. I'm going to add that in there. That's great. But yeah, all you got to do is just search Uncultured Universe, and you'll find us. Check us out on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. And yeah, catch us in a couple weeks when we talk about Legend.
Very excited.
Peace. See you.